rape
going to...
in our Johnson Middle School.
Ms. Jenkins,
as
you
well
are
as turning
making
over
some
phone calls to
really,
the
really...
Department of Education. Mr. Susan, I don't
Ms.
care
Jenkins.
what you threaten me with. I will hold you accountable
You will...
until the last day
Mr. Gibbs,
on this board.
Mr. Gibbs, now, there was something that happened. We had a couple of emails that I asked you to mention to said board member that they may be breaking sunshine because these may be coming before the board, and you went ahead and told that individual that these are some issues that we may not want to be sending inside of emails. So I would like you to take a look at those emails to see if what just happened actually broke sunshine and actually that, okay? Now, moving on. Ms. Wright, you have, nope, that's it. Ms. Wright, you have an issue.
Mr. Gibbs, do you have a comment for that, please?
I would need to look at
No,
it. Sorry.
let's go. Ms. Wright, you're up.
Yes. Okay. One of the things that's become very apparent and that I'm seeing is that we have a lot of issues in our district, do we not? I mean, we're having them with leaders, we're having them with our schools, we're having them with our teachers, with our students. We have lost our way to some degree. We have lost our focus on what we are supposed to be doing. And I believe that we are only as strong as our leaders are. I believe our community has expressed multiple different ways and different times that they are calling for a change in leadership. And that is not a comfortable thing, that is not a fun thing, but it is a necessary thing in order to move our district into where we need to be going. So with that being said, I take no joy in even bringing this up because I will tell you I have respect for our superintendent. But the public's perception, Mr. Mullins, is that you are the leader, and what they are calling for is a strong leader. And so what I'm asking is that with this board, what are their stances? How do they feel about looking at reviewing the superintendent's contract? Or are we comfortable staying the direction that we are with the leadership we have in place? And I will leave it there and open it to discussion from there.
Thank you. Opening that up for discussion. Does anybody other board members wish to comment on this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Wright, I hear you, and leadership is important. What I would suggest is the real problem that the community has most been upset with is who is directing the superintendent. And we have new direction with a new board. And the superintendent, any appointed superintendent, serves at the will of the board. And I would suggest that over the last couple of years, Dr. Mullins has served at the will of the board. I will give you an example. One of the things that most upset our community would have been the mandate of the last couple of years. Just to be crystal clear, the only recommendation that was ever brought by Dr. Mullins or any of his staff was strongly recommend. It was the board who changed it to expected. It was the board who changed it to a mandate. It was the board who created the policy to do it. It was the board, the majority of the board at the time. When I say the board, it was our, who we had in place. It was the board who decided to do a mask mandate in 2021 in spite of what the governor and the Department of Health had issued. The board did that every single time, and the superintendent followed the direction of the board. We have a new board. And I believe with all my heart, after working with Dr. Mullins for the last 4 years, that he will follow the direction of the board unless we lead him to do something illegal, unethical, or immoral. And so my suggestion would be that we do have an evaluation process that happens every year. It starts in May, goes through June, July, usually around July time, the board gathers together for our annual evaluation of the superintendent. I would suggest that as we have our 2 new board members and as we have this new leadership that we have in place here, that that is a more appropriate time for us to do the evaluation when you guys have the time to see. You get a big fat binder about that thick so you can really delve into every department, every area, every school, every initiative, and that would be the better time to look at the body of work and see, what with the new leadership is the superintendent following the leadership of this new board. I think that would especially allow us to maintain some stability in our organization. When there is change, there's the risk of instability. I think the stability is very important, and so I feel very strongly about this. That now is not the time, but that we do have our regular time. We look at Dr. Mullins' contract every summer as we do the evaluation, and have the opportunity to make changes. The board sets really his agenda for the year. We set, here are your goals we want you to meet, here are the things we want you to work on, here are the weaknesses, here are the strengths. That's our job, and we do that. We prepare for that all through the year, and then we have that formal evaluation process in the summer. So that would be my recommendation, is that we continue through, we make clear direction as a board. We are making lots of changes. We've already made lots of changes tonight. I haven't heard any resistance to those changes so far. I've heard, yes, we can make it happen. Here's how we can make it happen. So I believe we're already moving in the right direction, and I hope that the rest of the board would agree with that part of it with me.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins? Coming to you next, Dean.
This district makes decisions based on data. Here's some. There's a positive perception of Brevard Public Schools in our community as identified in the Alliance for Public Schools Community Conversation data. Approximately 70% of respondents had a positive or somewhat positive opinion of Brevard Public Schools. One of the quotes, Dr. Mullins is worthy of a community's respect. He's had a steady hand during this crisis and with all that has been stirred up politically around education. He has focused on students, and that is what is most important. There's been an increased parental satisfaction. 75% of parents indicated they're either satisfied or very satisfied with Brevard Public Schools in a parent survey with over 25,000 respondents. 77% of people indicated they would recommend BPS as a good place to work in an exit survey feedback. That was up from 33% in 2018. The utilization of federal stimulus funds for maximum positive student impact received perfect audit. Dr. Mullins is recognized throughout the state as an exemplary leader, as evidenced by appointment to the Board of Directors of Florida Association of District School Superintendents. He's supported by our community, as evidenced by the favorable passage of our sales tax and our millage. And let me be clear about our millage. From the day I was elected to this school board, I made it very clear to Dr. Mullins that was one of the reasons I ran in the first place. And the first thing out of Dr. Mullins' mouth was, I hear you, I agree with you. I never had full board consensus or support. He's supported by the majority of Brevard's legislatures, as evidenced by allocations for our CTE programs throughout our district. He has widespread community support through his ambassadors group, who many of them are sitting here in the audience today. Not only is there a positive perception of the work Dr. Mullins has done, but he happens to have a positive impact on our students directly through his leadership. Our graduation rate increased from 2016 at 87.5 to 2021's 90.6. There's been an increase in student achievement for all student subgroups in the 21-22 school year. He increased student participation and achievement in our advanced courses, including AP, IB, dual enrollment, and our CTE programs. Our progress monitoring data shows our students are rebounding at a greater rate than the rest of the state and outperforming the state average, as we saw in our October 25th academic update. And in addition to academic, he has positively impacted our workforce, increased community partnerships, and maintained fiscal responsibility and transparency. He developed a career advancement opportunities within our organization to encourage continuous growth throughout our organization. He developed the Thrive by 5 program, working with the support of our community, our healthcare facilities, and organizations throughout the community to support our youngest babies before they enter Brevard Public Schools. He launched a mentoring framework to support our students in crisis and after this pandemic. He created a referral resources list to support our families who are going through mental health crises. He cut $58 million from the budget with the most minimal impact to our students and our classrooms as humanly possible. He established a finance team who manages a nearly billion-dollar budget, who is award-winning, and again, with perfect audits. And last but not least, Dr. Mullins is an educator for Brevard Public Schools for the past 29 years. He was a teacher, a coach, an area superintendent, a district superintendent, our chief operating officer, and now serves as our superintendent. You will never find another man with the experience and the heart of the children of Brevard Public Schools more than Dr. Mullin. And I'm not going to sit here
If we keep going back and forth, we go to count and me and it's over. Keep it going. Just let me go.
And I'm not going to sit here and be quiet about the conversation that's about to take place, that's going to place some imaginary blame on a man who literally takes direction from the board you sat on for 6 years.
Ms. Jenkins?
Because if you have a
Hold on.
If
That's
you
right.
have a problem
has
with
time to do
the
it.
decisions that were
not-
made, then you have a problem with the decisions that you made.
Ms. Jenkins?
That you made.
Hang on, let her finish. Ms. Jenkins, when you finish, can you just say I'm finished?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
This conversation is not only about the man that I respect, but it's about Brevard Public Schools and our community. Because if you remove this man from this position, it will trickle down into our experienced cabinet, every member who has served Brevard Public Schools for at least a minimum of 20 plus years, and slowly down to our community schools. And I want everyone to hear me loud and clear. If that is the decision and the will of this board, I take no blame in that terrible decision.
I'm assuming you're finished. Hang on. Let
Yes,
Jean
I'm
respond.
finished.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jean.
All right, what I'd like to say is that does show potential we have in BPS and Brevard schools here. I won't speak quite as long, but that being said, I would be in support of a change in leadership.
If you want to speak, I have to let them speak.
Okay.
We good? Everybody's done? So basically, I've had conversations with Dr. Mullins on this issue, and we've had, direction and said if this is the will of the board that we're going to move in that direction, and I'll support Ms. Wright's motion, and that should give the majority of what we need. And I think at this point, Dr. Mullins, did you have something to say?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Please quiet down.
First, I have respect for all the board members. This is a challenging discussion. It's a challenging topic. I would be remiss if I didn't say it's near and dear to my heart, not personally and professionally, but because this is my community. This community has not only given me the opportunity to serve as an educator, to serve as a leader, but it's also contributed to raising my own children. And I have said very publicly that this community I consider partly responsible for the success my own children have today, and very proud of them and proud of what Brevard Public Schools has provided my own children. But the foundation of an educational system is on being able to come together, work together, and move forward. And that's my number one priority for this board, for Brevard Public Schools, for our community. in consideration of the conversation this morning, I would request the board consider me meeting with the board chair, begin discussions of a mutually agreeable separation agreement that would come back to the board at a time in a future meeting.
So Dr. Mullins, Dr. Mullins asked to move forward with that. Do we have the same people that were for that? Is that okay if I negotiate with Dr. Mullins a separation agreement?
Will that be brought before us beforehand?
It absolutely will, in a special meeting that we can call that doesn't require us to go through the floor today. Please, ma'am, I will be here for anybody that wants to talk afterwards. I will answer any questions. So listen, with that said, I truly appreciate your guys' time.
Mr.
We're
Sousa,
good to
may
go.
I make a comment?
What's that? Yep, we're good.
I want to talk to my community. Folks, I appreciate your words of affirmation. I appreciate your compliment. I ask that we all come together in complete cooperation and respect and move forward. Give the board chair your respect and your attention to move forward and handle the board business in the most conducive, cohesive way possible. Mr. Susan, Ms. Wright, Mr. Trent, Ms. Campbell, Mrs. Jenkins, you have my commitment to be cooperative through this process and every anticipation that we'll have a amicable resolution to the future conversations.
Absolutely, Dr. Mullins. You are an amazing human being, and I don't care. I'm going to say this. You have been a father. You've been a father of many kids that have gone through here. You've been a teacher, a principal, and I appreciate your time. Next item up. Moving on. Has nothing to do with this. Next up, item number for discussion, State Board of Education Rule 6A-10.086. Ms. Campbell, you wanted to lead this discussion. Please, the floor is yours.
All right.